That's so interesting.
Oh, hey everyone, Sol here. I have only one rule here: if it's animated, I'll comment on it. And as you can see, I'm sitting here with the truest gentleman of them all, Professor Layton. Yes, indeed, we have been sitting here all day discussing intellectual things and sipping Darjeeling. Okay, I'm fully aware that he's made of plastic, but as you can see, I'm not handling things very well right now. I mean, frankly, I'm scared, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. I just want to distract myself from what I know is coming, but it's getting harder and harder every day to do that. The truth is, people, that I'm... Let's not talk about that right now, okay? You guys didn't come here to see me be mopey. You came here to see me review something. And you know, sitting there pretending to drink tea with Professor Layton, it's giving me an idea of what to review. Yes, indeed. Reiton-Kyoju to Eien no Utahime, aka Professor Layton and the Eternal Diva, is a 2D and 3D anime movie produced by PA Works and is a continuation of the Professor Layton series of games for the Nintendo DS and 3DS, taking place between Professor Layton and the Last Spectre and Professor Layton and the Miracle Mask. The film was distributed in 2009 by Toho and was later dubbed in English and released in the UK in 2010 and 2011 in the United States. Okay, Professor, are you ready for me to review your movie? Of course you are, you're not real. Anyway, people, this is Professor Layton and the Eternal Diva. Alright, sit your butts down there and rest your head in your hands because I have quite a bit of splaining to do. I'll try to condense this as much as I can, but from this point on, since this is a mystery movie, I must admit that there will unavoidably be spoilers, so please keep that in mind. So anyways, fresh off their adventures in Professor Layton and the Last Spectre, Professor Layton and his young apprentice Luke Triton receive a letter from the professor's old student Janice Quatlin, who informs them that Melina Whistler, her friend who has been dead for a whole year, came to her in the body of a 7-year-old girl claiming to possess eternal life. Janice then invites them to the Crown Pitone Theatre to watch an opera in which she stars, which details the legend of Ambrosia, an ancient land that supposedly had access to the fabled elixir of life, which grants eternal life. After the opera concludes, the real show begins, as a mysterious man pulls everyone in attendance into a challenging, puzzle-solving game, and whomever is the last one remaining in the game is supposedly granted the gift of eternal life. So it's up to Professor Layton and his apprentice number 1, Luke, to find out the real truth behind this sinister game, as well as the shocking reality of the gift of eternal life and—
Please, no more splaining!
Wow, I feel like I just vomited up a pile of bricks. That was way too much plot. I'm getting some major Advent Children vibes from this movie, in that the plot, while it is slightly more forgiving to newcomers than most video game-based movies, has a bit of a wonky structure and irregular progression, meaning it might take you several watch-throughs to grasp the full breadth of everything that's presented. And I have watched it multiple times, so I can say for certain that it does get a lot easier to understand with multiple watch-throughs. But to be honest, if you're not a die-hard fan of Professor Layton, you probably won't stick around long enough for that anyway. So let's just shimmy on over to the characters and talk about the truest gentleman of them all, Professor Herschel Layton, a professor of archaeology at Gressenheller University in London. That is, when he's not traveling around in his Layton-mobile, solving puzzles, cracking mysteries, drinking tea, sword fighting, and just being impossibly intelligent and a general badass in all aspects of life. It's funny how all these traits should make him a character who may as well have Gary Stu tattooed on his forehead, but I believe all his OP badassery is counterbalanced by how much his life sucks. I won't go into full details, since this is a review of the movie and not the games, but let's just say that considering all the terribly depressing and genuinely horrible things Layton has gone through in his consistently fucked up life, he has every right to be awesome at all times. Not to mention he's cuter than a basket full of kittens, so I just can't bring myself to nitpick on his character. I just love Layton way too much to do that to him! Oh no. Oh no! Oh my god, no! But the same cannot be said of Luke Triton, the professor's self-proclaimed apprentice, who's a precocious child who can talk to animals. Sort of. Personally, I never liked Luke. Not just because he's a child, and I hate children, but he just has this way about him that makes me want to shove him off a cliff. I'll sum up my feelings by just saying he's annoying, but I do feel there's more layers to it than just that. Next up is Janice Quatlin, an opera singer and former student of the professor's who drags Layton and Luke into the mystery involving eternal life. Janice just kinda tags along for the ride and doesn't have much of a personality, but the reason I won't criticize her character directly is because, well, it would be far too spoilery for my tastes. There's also a bevy of side characters like Emmy Altava, the professor's assistant who helps in investigations and brings the muscle when there aren't any swords around for Layton to use, Clamp Grosky, an inspector at Scotland Yard who's so ridiculously physically fit that he can outswim a shiver of sharks, Oswald Whistler, Melina Whistler's father and opera composer who writes the opera about Ambrosia and has a nose big enough to land a Boeing 747 on, as well as the various passengers aboard the Crown Patone who have an assortment of quirks of their own, but aren't exactly interesting enough to go into detail. And though I would love very much to talk about the villain of this whole affair, I want to avoid the exit into spoiler town, so I won't needlessly spoil it. Though if you've already played the games, you know exactly who the villain is, but shh, we'll just pretend that you don't. It sucks too, because I really do want to talk about the villain, but, well, the butt hurts of the many outweigh the butt hurts of the few, so let's just move on to the good things, shall we? Alrighty then, let me just get all my notes together here. Okay, so, one of the best aspects of this movie are the character and background designs. Because this movie is animated by the same people who did the cutscenes for the games, there's no difference between the two. So unlike Advent Children, Gyakuten Saiban, and Dobatsu no Mori, there's no massive disparity or awkwardness in the translation of designs. It literally looks like the games leapt out of their cartridges, and that's always been one of the best aspects of the Professor Layton universe, how atmospheric and gorgeous the designs are. I guess that's the only word for it. Gorgeous. This movie is just gorgeous. While I can't call the animation itself pants-soilingly amazing, it feels weirdly appropriate for the world and story that the movie tries to create. It's not fluid or busy, it's calm and simplistic, which feels just right for something like this. And oh my god, don't even get me started on the soundtrack! Not only does this movie have an incredible score performed by the Layton Grand Caravan, but it actually has, no joke, one of my favorite songs of all time, ever. Unfortunately, due to copyright bullshit, I can't play the song uninterrupted for you, but I strongly encourage anyone who loves grand orchestral scores to look up the soundtrack, even if you don't watch the movie. But anyway, getting back to the matter at hand, I also very much enjoy how even though this is a movie that continues running without your input, they do manage to include a few puzzles in the runtime as well. While they're not extremely difficult, like some of the ones in the games,
like this one for example,
they aren't patently easy either, not to mention they're well integrated as well, since they help progress the plot as opposed to just being semi-aggravating roadblocks on your path to seeing more awesome cutscenes. And on a final note, let me just say that this movie, just like the game series it came from, has a habit of being deceptively charming. Underneath that kid-friendly exterior is a rather depressing story and resolution, which, if you love that sort of thing like I do, is certainly a plus now, isn't it? I'm sorry, Professor, I'm sorry. You know, I was praising your movie and you liked that, right? I'm sorry I made your head go off and... What? Yeah, I know I'm crying over an inanimate object. Don't judge me. So I'm going to have to cut myself deep here, since the lover of the Professor Layton series in me wants me to just say, "This movie is awesome! 10 billion eyes out of 5! But the critic in me says, nothing on Earth should be immune to criticism, Sol. Such a buzzkill, that critic side. No wonder I'm always so damn miserable. But anyway, I will be the first to admit that, though I personally don't care much, this movie is extremely weird. That's a staple of the series as a whole, that things just get really weird all of a sudden, and this movie's no exception. Some of you with less bias-stained glasses than I will probably be raising at least an eyebrow or 3 at some of the sillier aspects of this movie, like giant robots and inflatable henchmen and other such odd things. To me, that's part of the fun, but I can definitely see how it would perturb some people. And speaking of being perturbed, it's true that the plot progression and structure is, as I said, somewhat unusual, especially in the first half when it likes to jump around in time, making it kinda difficult to understand how all the plot elements fit together. Though, again, that can be remedied with multiple viewings, so it's not the worst thing ever, I suppose. Professor Layton and the Eternal Diva is a picturesque little piece that holds a very special place in my heart. But to be completely honest, I don't know if I'd recommend this movie to anyone other than Professor Layton fans. Because, while you can absolutely watch it without playing the games for its gorgeous background designs and panty-wettingly amazing soundtrack, it's a million times more enjoyable when you can see all the little cameos and nods to the games in the background. So I won't say it's bad by any means, but don't be surprised if you don't care for it the first time around, due to its strange elements. But despite that, this is one mysterious mystery I say is most definitely worth solving. I give Professor Layton and the Eternal Diva "3.5 eyes out of 5. So, Professor Layton and the Eternal Diva. Is it watchable? Hell yes, it is. Like I said, the visuals and designs are one of the best things about this movie, so what are you waiting for? Your eyelids aren't gonna staple themselves open. Is it enjoyable? Well, like I said, some of the plot elements are a little bit impenetrable the first time you watch it, but with repeated viewings, I will say that it is a lot easier to understand, and the whole movie has a charge of creativity and energy throughout that makes it enjoyable to watch, even if you're not a Professor Layton fan. Is it memorable? That's a good question, because while I certainly remember it, and remember it fondly, I actually don't know many people who even know this movie exists. But you know what? That's okay. I don't recommend it to anyone except the well-initiated in the Professor Layton series anyway. But don't let that scare you away from watching it, because who knows? You might discover a set of stories that you never knew you loved in the first place. So, yeah. I guess that's all there is to say about that. So, if you don't mind, guys, there's something I have to do. Something important, and I need to do it before it's too late. I'll see you. Want to stay up to date with all the latest EyeofSol news? You can follow me on Twitter as well as on Facebook at twitter.com/EyeofSol299 and facebook.com/EyeofSol. I update them every day, so if you want to check out news on the show as well as updates, just follow the links here. Hey everybody, thanks for watching my review of Professor Layton and the Eternal Diva. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, I would appreciate a like and a share of this video, as well as a subscription to my channel, because I really appreciate that. If you want to check out the previous Sol episodes, you can see the annotations playing on the video right now, or if you want to check out my various social media sites, you can see my links to my Twitter page and my Facebook fan page there on the screen for you, as well as in the description. If you have an idea for an animated series or movie you want me to comment on, you can leave me a message in the YouTube comments on any one of my social media sites, or just let me know in any way you can think of to let me know what you want to see, and I'll add it to my list. Okay? Thanks again for watching everybody, and I will see you next week for another series review.